You're listening to Uncoupled and Unfiltered, the show for people smart enough to get out of the wrong relationship and bold enough to do it without losing their damn minds. Hosted by Ksenia Muench, a divorce strategist and straight-talking badass, this podcast is your no-fluff, no-shame, take-control guide to surviving litigated divorce with clarity, guts, and zero regrets. Let's get into it. Here's Ksenia.
You're listening to Uncoupled and Unfiltered, where we explore high-conflict divorce dynamics from A to Z. But today, I want to inject a little bit more positivity and happiness into conversation and remind you that not every divorce is all doom and gloom. Breakups can be messy, but they don't always have to stay that way. My guest today is Doug Sandler with Turnkey Productions, who is here to share his story, how it began, what made it so difficult, and how things ultimately evolved. Does it have a happy ending? You'll have to sit back and listen to find out. So, Doug, thank you so much for being here and being open to share your story.
Yeah, my pleasure. What a cliffhanger of an intro. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, does it have to be doom and gloom? I don't think so. It could be fun. There's some emotional discharge in there. So it could sometimes be a little difficult, but we'll talk about all that stuff today on the episode, I'm sure.
Oh, sounds great. I mean, for me, again, I talk about high conflict, so it's kind of like really dark, and I'm just tired of darkness. We're going through holidays. Let's talk about, happy divorce. Is there such a thing? So let's talk about, listen, when you get happiness when you get what you want. So whether it's divorce, separation, so there is a happy in it. But that's how I look at it.
I'm ready to dig in, and if I get some therapy along the way, that's okay too. And if I give some therapy to anybody in your listening audience or your community, that's great as well. Ksenia, thank you for having me.
Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. And let's dive in. So, how did it all start for you? So, you mentioned you tell the story, how it all started, and why did it become messy?
Okay, so you want to start with the marriage or the divorce? Because I can go in either direction. We had 20 years of really good marriage, other than we just didn't communicate really effectively. And at some point along the way, I just didn't think this was going to be my partner for life. My kids were a little bit
Okay.
older. They were 15 and 18 at the time of our separation, and I lived in the house for actually a couple of months beyond our quote unquote our separation, although it's not legally called a separation if you're not out of the house. But I figured
Mm-hmm.
it was better and a little bit easier transition for everybody if I stayed in the house. And yeah, so it communication kind of broke down somewhere along the way. We tried the counseling thing, but I gotta say this. I don't know that I really tried very hard in counseling. I think I had
Mm-hmm.
already called it quits before I got to the counselor, and the counselor more opened up the wound rather than I felt like getting to the
Mm-hmm.
healing side of things. But maybe it was because of my perspective going into counseling. So I'm happy to get into any of that stuff too.
So, here's the thing. I did marriage counseling too. And I think there is a misconception when people think about marriage counseling and they think it's effective only if marriage is saved. What my perspective and take on it is marriage counseling is effective when you get your answers, whether it's staying with a
Okay.
person or whether it is best to separate. So like if you that's effective, right? You got there and you got the answers. So for you, who made so marriage counseling sounds like you got some answers.
Yeah, but again, I think I went into counseling with the wrong attitude. I think I was going into counseling trying to appease my wife at the time that I was going to
Um,
counseling, and that's never a good thing. And there's a fine line, I think, oftentimes as we look at it from somebody that is already it's over in their brain. I think there's
yes.
a fine line between counseling and mediation. Mediator is a whole different role playing
Mm-hmm.
scenario than counseling was, and I felt like, okay, when I go to counseling, what are they going to do? They're going to dig up all of these old wounds. We're going to fight about it. And, and we never really argued. We just didn't really communicate really well. So that was probably,
Mm-hmm.
I think I got married so young. I got married at 25. And I think even a few years into it, I'm like, there's got to be more to it than this. And I don't know that I ever was I mean, I know I was happy in there, but I was happy with the circumstances. I was happy being married to a good friend. I was happy with the vacations
Mm-hmm.
that we would go on. I was happy because I had a really blossoming career in entertainment at the time, and so I would felt like really good about all the circumstances. But I don't know if I looked at singularly the relationship itself.
Mm-hmm.
If a few years into it, I didn't start to feel that little bit of a dark cloud in why am I here and why is this not getting any better for me?
Did who made the decision? Was it mutual or like it was one-sided? Did
Well, I
somebody
think
have
I
to play
was
catch up?
you got to think that in some relationships there's the action taker and then there's somebody that's a little bit more less of the action taker, a little bit more of the follower in the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and not follower in a bad way, but follower as in I'll do whatever you want to do. And I've always been an action taker as an entrepreneur, as a self-employed person, as someone that builds business as my career. I probably took
Mm-hmm.
that philosophy into my relationship, which may not have been good, and I basically said, we're not really, where are we going? What is this? And it wasn't good. So for me, I think that she probably would have stayed married forever. And if I
Mm-hmm.
was not an action taker, I probably would have stayed married forever too. But I'm like, this does not define what, happiness is not defined here for me properly. So I
Mm-hmm.
think I needed to make a move. So I would say I was probably the catalyst, although she
Mm-hmm.
didn't put up much of a fight. She didn't really to try to hang on to the marriage other than
Mm-hmm.
she wanted to go to counseling. I agreed to go to counseling. We did a few sessions of that. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't really stay in it very long. And then it just wasn't working for me.
Okay, so but it sounds like she wasn't surprised that this is the direction you took because I
Yeah.
mean it doesn't sound like she had to play a catch up. She's just, okay, this is where we're at.
I believe so. I mean, if you ask her
Mm-hmm.
now, I think she probably would say that it was probably for the better that we got divorced. I probably wasn't the dad to our kids that she wanted me to be. I probably wasn't the husband that she had expected in the in
Mm-hmm.
as we matured in our age, and she
Got
probably
wiser, wisdom.
right, yeah, probably wasn't me. I was just not that. I wasn't, and I'm sure there was a lot of it that was on me. I mean, we're both responsible for the failure of the
Yes.
relationship, but I think that there was probably more on me than on her. I probably changed more than she did, not in a positive way, but in a look, I got to get more out of life than this, and I'm not as happy as I think I really should be. So I want to move on.
Mm-hmm. Got it. I mean, I think a lot of relationships break down. Yes, there is a lack of communication or break in the communication, but it's also the way we grow. And especially when we get married so young, like you were 25, I was 23, the
Mm.
major growth happens in the next 10 to 15 years. So if we're not moving in the same direction, we just, that's
Yeah.
that's how breakup happen,
And
right?
I built this wonderful career and I brought her into the career with me. She was basically my manager, and so we were really connected, and we stayed
Mm-hmm.
connected even after we got divorced, in that she still managed my schedule and my timing and my and selling for me, although we had other people that took over that through an agency as my entertainment company was growing. But
Mm-hmm.
still, there was some really hard things in in that beginning part. There was a lot of emotional
Mm-hmm.
distress for both of us. I can remember having some pretty deep screaming matches over some really silly, stupid things. At least stupid to me. Maybe it meant more to her. But
Mm-hmm.
again, part of it just understanding my inability to communicate effectively. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure added to my frustration and was the catalyst for a lot of my anger. And
Mm-hmm.
we got through that. It was a very brief period. It's probably a few months of that. And then beyond that, it was just, there wasn't a lot of relationship in the beginning, but we had kids, so we had to communicate. And,
Mm-hmm.
so for us, there was a lot of turmoil, but it wasn't, it was, I'm sure there are people in your audience, and I know that you had gone through a much more high conflict divorce than I did.
Mm-hmm.
But uh, looking back, I think that a lot of that was just frustration over the moment rather than frustration
Mm-hmm.
over the whole relationship. And I think we have a good relationship now. I think we're
Mm-hmm.
friends now. We don't talk as often as we did, of course, when we were having our conflicted divorce, but we still talk. We have two kids together, 29 and
Mm-hmm.
32, our kids' age. So it was
Wow.
We're parents to our kids. We make decisions together if anything needs to be made together of major consequence now. She's very involved with my mom's well-being and my mom's she has a great relationship with my mom still, and of course she has a great relationship with our kids. And I, I mean, as bad as the time was to go through a divorce, I couldn't imagine having a better situation now than we have with our kids, with
Mhm.
her and with our kids and with my mom.
Well, let me ask you this. So when the divorce proceeding started, so it sounds like you probably went through mediation, right? So it's a little less intense. You can mold it the way you
Well,
want, and you
we
can actually speak to
we
each other.
started with attorneys, and because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. So she hired an attorney, I hired an attorney, and then probably in a short period of time, I would say less than a month, maybe two tops, uh, we probably decided together, this is silly. We're spending our kids' inheritance on these two attorneys that are going to fight for us. I think we can have a more
Yeah.
amicable divorce than our attorneys want to provide for us. Let's go into mediation. And the mediator did, in my estimation, although there were some frustrating times in mediation too,
Of course.
mediator did a exceptional job of making sure that how we got out of this, we got out of it properly. And
Hmm.
so we hired a mediator, took care of everything, and then, you know,
Hmm.
she it was, at least from my perspective, maybe she has a different opinion. We can always try to figure out. Maybe she'll be on the show one day. No, how was the divorce to Doug? So
Well, let's hear another story.
okay.
Well, you've been mentioning the word frustration quite a bit, and I want to zero down on it. And here's why. When you say frustration when going through divorce, do you think it had a lot to do, maybe frustration with the fact that the family didn't work out, or the what you envisioned? Like it's almost there are goals that kind of
Yeah.
fell through in a way. So it's more frustration, not with her per se, but it's probably like directed at ourselves when
Oh
we're going
yeah.
through that, and it just projected and intensifies based on everything else.
Boy, you nailed it. That I'm sure that a good percentage of the frustration was not with her. A good percentage of the frustration was with my failure in the relationship. The common denominator in this relationship failure, we both had say in it failing, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't necessarily focus on what your partner's failures were. I focused on,
Oh.
what did I do wrong?
Mm-hmm.
What did I do wrong? I felt bad about it. I was frustrated. I was making child support payments, alimony payments. I'm spending all this money, and I'm like, I'm frustrated because the first, 2/3 of my month of working is going to her, and I get to keep the other third. So that was a little frustrating for me. And it wasn't
Yes.
because she was getting the money. It was more because I'm like, why did I fail at this? I really felt like I failed.
Mm-hmm. But it also gives you a growth opportunity. Like this is where if this gives you a chance to look at yourself and figure out your accountability and fix it going forward, that's huge for the next relationship, right? And even though it comes with a price, whether it's price of child support, alimony,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, the breakup of a marriage. But like you said, you probably would not want to change anything about that part of your life because it takes you to where you are today.
Yeah, agreed, agreed. What was nice about it is I remained close to the home after I moved out. I moved only a few miles away into a
Okay.
condo. I thought it was best to keep her in the home so that the kids were not disrupted with that at all. My daughter was
Mm-hmm.
going to college. She was in her first year of college. My son
Mm-hmm.
was a sophomore, I believe, in high school. I didn't want, of course, them to have to move anywhere, and I didn't want them to downgrade to a smaller home. Or uproot them and get them all in a different environment. So
Mm-hmm.
um, that was good that we were able to do that. And like I said at the beginning, once I finished with that all that emotional crap that I had in my brain,
Mm-hmm.
and got rid of those arguments, I think we were on a little bit more solid ground. I think that some of the challenge was also in the breakup. You don't just lose your spouse, you lose your spouse's family and you lose your spouse's friends.
Is it
So
a bad thing sometimes? I'm like,
no,
I do
no.
not know.
I really did love her parents, and I
Okay.
continued a relationship. It was a little hard because I know how much heartbreak was involved in the breakup, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was a little hard, a little uncomfortable in there. But I, I know she probably tried much harder, and it's evidence today. I mean, she's still extremely close with my mom, which was really another
Mm-hmm.
whole other story. But my mom said, "You guys may be getting divorced, but I'm not." Meaning she's staying with her.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't side with my ex,
Mm-hmm.
but she didn't stop her relationship. And I really
Mm-hmm.
do appreciate that in my mom because she really did help me through a lot of that. Um, be more comfortable in my relationship with my ex and to spend
Mm-hmm.
be able to spend time with her and not feel angry or anything. She really did help smooth the separation a lot. And I love my mom for that. To this day, I love my mom for that.
Oh, that's incredible. Was there a turning point for you when you realized the communication part it has to change? Like we have to get better at this.
You mean while we are separated or
As going through divorce, so you said the beginning was very messy, there was a lot of raw emotion involved. And was there something that happened in your life at that point, or maybe between you two, that you realized, okay, it's enough. Like
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
longer hostile. We're good.
I think I recall a couple of instances, and one of them is a phone call or two that I had gotten over how I was communicating with my kids, and the amount of quality time I was spending. We look at our love languages,
Hmm.
and my love language is absolutely words of affirmation. Probably not the number one. Probably maybe three or four on my list might be quality time. So she wanted me to spend more time with my kids, and I felt like my communication with my kids was a show of my deep appreciation and love for my children. She thought, I think her measuring stick was the more time you spend with your kids, the better a father you are. And I do recall
Mm,
having a specific conversation with her about I'm never going to be the father to our kids as you want me to be, and nor do I want to attempt to be that person because I want to
hmm.
be the type of father that I want to be and that my kids want me to be. If my kids said, I need more time with you, I would have done what I needed to do in order to spend more time with my kids. My kids were okay with me being the dad that I was, but I don't think that that was the measuring stick by which she was measuring
Hmm.
my fatherly being. So I had to have that conversation with her, and it felt really empowering, and powerful for me to be able to stand in my own place and say, I'll never be the father that you want me to be. And I'm okay with that because this is what you're
Hmm.
expecting, and that's not who I am. But I do remember vividly having that conversation with her on probably a
Okay.
couple of occasions and me being, you know what, this is going to work out. This is going to be okay. I just need to stand my ground, not in a powerful way like I'm doing this to you, but more of a this is who I am. And this maybe is part of why our relationship didn't work out.
Hmm. Well, it also sounds like you both got to a point where you were open to listening, hearing each other.
Probably, I think she pushed back a couple of times in that
Of course.
in that part of the journey because and then I guess she realized at some point I guess I can't tell him what to do, you know.
Mm-mm.
I do recall my parents getting divorced, and this is one of the frustrating things for me. We all have these wounds from childhood, and I remember my dad used to pick us up on Saturdays, and sometimes he would, have to reschedule. And sometimes, and as a young kid, you don't ever want your parents to disappoint you.
Hmm.
It feels like, oh, it makes me feel bad. My mom used to say to me over and over again, she thought she was protecting me, but it really was probably pretty harmful to me, is that your father doesn't deserve the love that you want to give him. So in my brain, I kept hearing that over and over again as a child.
Hmm.
And man, that really poisoned the well for me. She thought she was protecting me. Like, you don't need to love your father as much as
Mm-hmm.
as he is asking for, because he's not showing you any love in return. In essence, she was just like my ex-wife, and that she was trying to tell me what kind of son I was supposed to be. Don't
Mm-hmm.
love your father so much. He's just going to disappoint you. And I love my mom, but that was an area, and I'm sure she was not doing. I know she wasn't doing it to poison the
Mm-hmm.
well. She was more doing it to try to protect me so that I wouldn't love so deeply.
I think she was trying to protect you from disappointment and from
Yeah,
the pain that she needs to comfort you to overcome that grief when your dad has to reschedule. And
right.
I think, like, as a mom, I'm the same way with the kids. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish you don't have to feel it this deeply. So I'm trying to proactively do something without fully realizing that like you said, maybe I am poisoning the well. I mean, we all mess up. Like, we're humans, we make mistakes. We're not perfect in parenting. There is
Well,
no guidebook
and
how to do it.
she was probably so angry with my dad. My dad was not a faithful guy, and he left my mom, and she was so angry, I'm sure, with him, that she just didn't
Yes.
want him to have my love. And it's very frustrating as a kid growing up. You conflicting messages. You're like, your dad wants you to love, and
Mm-hmm.
you should love your dad, right? And your mom says, well, your dad doesn't deserve your love because he's not returning it. Maybe he was
Mm-hmm.
returning it just in the way that he knew. But as a 6 year old, what the hell do you know? As a
Yes.
12-year old, you begin to make your own opinions of what you want as a relationship. And, so I know a lot of these things come from my own parents' divorce.
Mm-hmm.
But I tried my hardest to be the father, and I still to this day try to be. And what's so great about it is I see my kids, I saw them at 15 and 18 when we got divorced. My son was a little angry, and I don't know that he was angry with me. He was just a 15-year-old. He's angry with the world. All 15-year-olds are angry, or many
Yes.
15-year-olds are angry. So it was great to watch my kids come back to me at 19 and 20 and 21 asking advice, and 25 moving into their
Mm-hmm.
own places, and 29 where my son is now, and 32 where my daughter is now. I think they more value my advice and opinion now. And I think all of that was because I never said to my kids a negative word about my ex. And I don't believe, I can't say that for sure, but I really feel that through the responses that I get from my kids. I don't feel like she ever poisoned the well for my kids, for me. So
Mm-hmm.
we never spoke negatively about each other, which created an environment where our kids, even though divorce is not a great thing, it didn't. I don't know, other than the separation. I don't know that. I think we left our kids as unscarred as you can leave two kids coming through a divorce like that.
Mm-hmm. Were your children surprised that you guys decided to get divorced?
Gosh, that's a great question. I don't know. I don't think they were surprised. But at 15 and 18 or 19, you don't really know. They told us they weren't surprised, but they could have been. I don't really know. And it's interesting about it is maybe I need to have a deeper conversation with my kids about the divorce, or maybe I just leave it alone. I don't know. I don't know. I might want to have a curious conversation with my kids about, did you guys think that we were ever going to get divorced, or did I don't know.
Mhm.
It's a great question.
Do you think there was a resentment? Because in my case, I know I had a conversation with my kids, and my oldest one did say he resented me because in his opinion, what he was told repeatedly, that I'm the one who broke the family and left the family.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a resentment that was sitting there for a while
Wow.
until now. So we're 5 years out, like,
Right,
of
right.
that dynamic. So, and my kids are older, so they're now understanding why this happened. But it was like the reaction, it was not necessarily they resented that their world was
Yeah.
ripped apart. That's what
Yeah,
they resented, and they
that's
blamed me.
that's pretty heavy. I mean, it's the kid. Everybody wants to blame somebody else. It's really hard, especially as a child, not. This was not at all our kid's fault, and I'm sure that in your case, it's
Hmm.
the same thing. It was not your kid's fault that
Not
there
at
was a
all.
divorce. but they want to blame somebody. It can't just be you guys grew apart. It feels like the kids, even adults, like to blame somebody or something for, they want to blame another person for infidelity, or they want to blame, you for being a workaholic, or all of the
Mm-hmm.
things they want to try to blame. But I don't know. Maybe if I had to rewind the clock, maybe I got married at the wrong time in my life. Maybe I was looking at the clock rather than working from my heart. Hey, I'm 24, I'm going to be 25. And in the 1990s or 80s, that was for me, that was when you got married. Okay, I'm
Yep.
25. Isn't it time to get married? Okay, I need to find a wife. And maybe
Mm-hmm.
that was my approach. I can't 100% say that that was my approach because I really felt like I was in love, but I didn't know. When
Mm-hmm.
you've never been in love before, you don't really know what love is. So, um, yeah, I don't. My kids probably wanted to blame. If there was anybody to blame, and I have, big shoulders, I can take the responsibility. If my kids wanted to
Mm-hmm.
blame me, I'd much rather them blame me than my ex, because at least then I'm in control of the narrative and I can at least have a conversation with them.
Mm-hmm. Well, also you're bringing up a good point. Like when we were younger, there was societal pressure, right? But on top of it, like we were so young, how can we know what we like? You mentioned, sounds like there are so many traces of your mom in your ex-wife.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, I probably
The
did marry my
same,
mother.
like we exactly we mimic what we know because we do not know what we want. We're still developing. How can we know what we like?
Yeah.
So that's why we basically mimic the dynamic that we had when growing up. And as we're getting older, we realize, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. This doesn't work for me. So it's just, I wouldn't say we're becoming more selfish, maybe in a way, but also we're becoming more aware and how we want to build life. And also, we now live so damn long. Like we can go into 80s, 90s. Why would I want to live my life when I don't like living in this way when I can make a change?
I
But
just
change is scary.
you think about what you don't know when you're 25 years old that you do know when I'm 61. So what you know at 61 years old, I know a lot more now than I did before, and I know a little bit more about wanting to. I mean, selfishly, I want to always be happy. And at that
Yes.
time, could I have stayed in the relationship? Sure, I could have stayed in the relationship, and I could have, dragged that into my everyday behavior, which of course would have been a negative. I always feel like I'm a,
Mm-hmm.
a positive person. I didn't want to be unhappy going through life. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know how to make myself happy, and I couldn't figure that out. And that was frustrating, and obviously the part of the reason for the divorce.
Yes. Do you know who knows the most? Teenagers. They know everything.
They know
And
everything.
I'm
Yeah.
like, can you give me advice? Can you just tell me what I need to do while you still know things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very
Uh,
much agree.
so speaking also of kids, when when you moved out, right? And how were they adjusting to overall like the new dynamic? Were they struggling a little bit? Because I want to point out that even though divorce is not a good thing for children, but I can say with certainty that it is much better outcome for kids when they see both parents happy than
Yeah.
them being together unhappy.
Yeah. Well, and the nice thing about it was, after those first couple of rocky months in the beginning, where there was a lot of that
Hmm.
emotional debris that had to clear away, we would go to school events together. My daughter was very actively involved in music program at her high school
Hmm.
and at her college, and my son is very involved in the music at his high school, and we would go to events together, and so while we were separated and then eventually divorced, we still did a lot of things together as it related to our
Hmm.
our kids. Even when I would go to family events with a girlfriend, my ex would be there, and the girlfriend was not the reason for us to be separated. So there was a little bit of friction in there in the beginning, but eventually I think a lot of that just kind of, I don't know, worked itself out or had to work out because
Hmm.
look, this is the environment. She was invited to all of my family's events, so we were going to see
Hmm.
her there. So This is just how
Hmm.
it's going to be. I just accepted it. I'm hoping that she accepted it. I think my kids eventually accepted that also. And my girlfriend never tried to be their their parent, although she was very strong. She was not their parent, and she knew. And that was I was never her in a position to be their parent, nor would I expect them to be parented by her. So
Hmm.
I think that worked out as good as it could be, I guess. I don't know. Again, you'd have
Hmm.
to query my ex and my kids about that, but I think that was okay too. Don't know.
Hmm. That was my basically next question. When the new partner comes into the picture, I mean, sometimes things get uglier because there is a sense of competition. You said there was friction, which ultimately settled. And it sounds like your ex-wife got comfortable knowing she's not threatened. Her mom's space probably is not threatened.
Oh,
So
that's really
that's
good. I love that.
why.
That's a great term. I never wanted her mom's space to be threatened, and I don't believe that her mom's space was ever the reason for any contention between the two of them.
Okay, good.
I think that my ex used to tell my girlfriend, like, oh well, like, oh well, he doesn't eat pecan pie. He's not going to have that. And she's like, what are you talking about? He loves pecan pie. It's like, so they had those little squabbles, but to a degree it was funny. I recall, I think it was my mom's 80th, I think it was, or maybe I can't remember whose birthday party we went to, but we all took a photo together, and it was funny. It was my ex on one side of me, my girlfriend at the time on the other side of me, my kids, and my mom. It was just very funny just to be in that photo. The expressions on everybody's face were classic conditions
What
there.
about your face? Are you the only one who knows what's going on in the picture?
I'm the happy idiot in the middle, just smiling. But everybody
Yeah.
else knew what was going on but me.
How were your kids with your new partner? How were
Uh,
they? I mean, I know your kids were older, but were they accepting? Were they also like a little jealous? Because I mean, I think every kid hopes that their parents eventually get back together.
I think,
But
yeah, I don't think they ever thought that we were going to get back together, but I think that my girlfriend at the time was pretty strong opinions. And I think that she probably was not as sensitive as she could have been to for them. And I don't
mhm.
think that she meant to be that way. I think it was just her personality. And my ex is such a loving, caring, motherly. Like my girlfriend didn't have any kids of her own, so she didn't really know how to mother. Not in a negative way, but
Yeah,
she
yes.
didn't know how to mother. I mean, it's hard to know how to mother if you've never been a mother before, especially if it's not your kids. So I think that there was a little friction in there for the most of the relationship. But again, no longer in my life. So again, that is okay as well.
Got it. What about now? I mean, I know you settled into a solid relationship and you're happy. Now everything, all the dust officially settled for you, right?
Yeah, yeah, we're let's see. I don't know the exact year that the divorce was finalized, but let's say somewhere around 2010, so 15 years ago. That next relationship lasted until about 2017, 2018, and
Oh
then
my,
so 7
that's a
years
long
we
one.
were together. There was a little footnote in there. There was also a marriage in there as well. So just a little
Okay, got
foot.
it. Now it explains things.
So that relationship that didn't work out. I thought it was. It was probably more rebound than I wasn't in a hurry to get married at all. We were together for 5+ years before or 4+ years before we got married, and it with the marriage it just didn't work out. That one didn't work out. I almost think like did I wish that my friends would have been a little bit more, do not do this. But they
But
weren't.
you know, we don't listen to
I
friends
know,
until
I
we
know.
see it.
Oh God, Sonia, you're so right about that. But I see it now. It's obvious now. But
Uh,
there was a lot of heartbreak for
yeah.
me in that second relationship. But again, I think that was all. Everything happens for a reason. Without that
Yes.
second relationship, never would have found this relationship that I'm in. I'm a
Mhm.
serial monogamist. I very focused on the relationship. So I put it all in to this second marriage that I had, and I
Hmm.
my heart was completely shattered on that go round.
Did it make you lose faith in yourself, in your picker, and
Your picker,
something's
that's
wrong
good.
with you if you can't figure this out? How come things are not working out? Have you lost any faith? Like, and how did you overcome it? Because I
Well,
think the answer is yes.
there's a certain degree of lack of self-confidence when you realize that the common denominator in both of these failed marriages is you. So you're like, oh shit, I can't believe this.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think so, but I also think that there was more growth in my second divorce from me. In my mind, there was a lot of self-reflection, and there was a lot of I mean, I've done so much work, self work, me work, that I
Mm-hmm.
didn't do in my first divorce, but absolutely in my second divorce there was some deep introspection going on there, if that's a word, about
Mm-hmm.
just examining, why did I do this, and why did I repeat that, and why did I get divorced, and a lot of the things that I think that I probably didn't do properly on my first go round that I did do on my second go round, at least from a self-help perspective.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you basically repeated same cycle, just different phase?
Yeah, yes. Yes, I think I just
That was your rebound.
I know. You
A
know that
long
going,
one.
that going, that when you're looking back, but when you're in it, like you said, everybody could have told me, don't do this. This isn't, there's every red flag that you probably should be seeing right now. You are missing,
Mm-hmm.
Doug, and I did. I missed a lot of red flags, and
You thought it
and
was a circus. I mean, it's okay.
maybe so. I did. I thought it was. It was great. So I felt like I started to do a lot of that work, that deep work on ourselves, understanding. I mentioned this before. My love language is understanding what needs that I was not getting fulfilled. Understanding the emotion that I needed to feel, and doing a lot of work on me. Relationship work on me,
Mm-hmm.
that when I entered this third relationship, this third serious relationship in my life, a lot of that work was being done with my current partner, who I've now been with for let's see, April of 2018, so almost 8 years
8 years.
now. Yeah, and I really have done a lot of that work in this relationship. Having really really good couples dialogue conversations, going through a lot of the imago therapies, and a lot of the things that I needed to go through that I didn't go through in my first two relationships have been done in this relationship.
Do you feel you're finally allowing yourself to be vulnerable with your partner?
A lot more so. I mean, there is still. I mean, the sign above my head it says work in progress. So it's like we're always a
It
work in
always
progress.
is.
But you have to, there's got to be some sort of self-awareness. And I think that in my first relationship, none of that. I had no self-awareness. None. No, no,
Mm-hmm.
no. I wasn't aware of what I was doing or why I was doing it. Second relationship, while there was a little of that, I missed every single red flag. In this relationship, I feel like there's a lot of self-awareness. There is a lot of I don't act to make my partner happy. I need to act first to make me happy. I have to be in love with me
Yes.
before I can love my partner. And it's been a really eye-opening change and difference in this as opposed to the first two that I've been through.
So we talk a lot about usually like when it comes to dating, red flag, red flag, red flag. What is the biggest green flag you see in your current partner now?
Oh, in my partner now?
Yes. I
Ah,
mean, that's why you are with your partner. I mean, the previous one sounds like a bouquet of red roses, like just something that did
I,
not work out, right? What about now? Like the biggest green flag that you say,
oh,
yes,
green
that's
flag or
why.
red flag? Which?
Green,
Oh,
green.
green. Oh, I thought you said red flag. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
no, no,
like, I
no,
don't know.
green.
Well, I think that there is a lot of we are extremely good communicators with each other. When there is a problem, I mean, we there is a I don't know if you know the counselor Harville Hendricks, if you've ever heard that name, but
Mm-mm.
there is a counselor. He created this whole therapy, and we go through this. we go through this practice um, every time we have a conflict. I mean, we don't wait. We don't let the emotion fester
Simmer.
inside us. No simmering. There's no simmering. It's if there's a problem, we say, "Hey, can we set aside some time tonight to have a couples
Mm-hmm.
dialogue?" And there's literally a script that you follow with this dialogue. It's very safe. It's great. You just you explain in words that are you, not words that I mean, the words that are I, not words that are you to your
Mm-hmm.
partner. Here's the issues that I had, and here's where I think these issues are stemming from, and this is the wound that I think it's was caused this. And can you help me understand this? It is really a great way to work through some problems. So there is, the green flag is open communication and
Mm-hmm.
no go to bed angry. There is no going to bed angry. We fix this every time we work through the problem.
That's incredible. I mean, again, you are such a perfect example of growth and ability to learn from your experiences. Because, like I said before, there are so many people who don't want to look in the mirror and they blame everybody else because it's easy and have like, oh, poor me, I don't deserve it. And they never get out of that mindset.
I think
You just did the opposite.
I think the problem is that the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And I think that if that
Mm-hmm.
people they don't erase their problems when they move from one relationship to the other. They just repeat the same problems, as you eloquently said just a moment ago. You probably recreated the same problems. It was just a different person you were partners with. And I'm like, wait, 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 wait. We got to stop this. I can't do this again because it really takes
Mm-hmm.
a lot out of you to go through that. So for me, it was really quite eye-opening to be able to have a relationship with somebody that was willing to communicate. They weren't often processing their feelings; they were sharing their feelings, and then we were working it out
Mm-hmm.
in real time, which I never felt like happened in my first two relationships. So from that perspective alone, and the ability to understand that I'm not going to change or ask my partner to change their behavior, her behavior, for me to be happy. I need to be happy regardless of what my partner's
Yes.
behavior is. I just need to understand why that behavior exists. I'm a big why asker. I always want to know why is this happening, or why did that end, or why did this
Mm-hmm.
flourish so much? Why was this so great? So I'm constantly on seeking answers. And so for me, it's been great to have this open communication and dialogue with my partner.
Hmm. And also, you finally know what you need, and you answered your why relationships broke down before, and how not to repeat this pattern again.
Agreed. Agreed. And not that everything is always perfect. It's not. There's always situations. There's always an argument. There's always a difference of opinion. There's always a compromise that needs to be made. But when I know that some of this comes from my emotional baggage that I've had since childhood, since my parents divorced at the age of
Mm-hmm.
2. So I often know that the problems were communicated or created way back in my childhood, and now I just have to deal with working around those problems. And being in the same situation and interpreting it differently is a really good. I could see the same thing that I saw 10 years ago when I went through my second divorce, and 20 years ago or 15 years ago when I went through my first divorce, and not react the same way I did 10 and 15 years ago. Feels really good. It feels
Mm-hmm.
like I'm just looking at it. Now I just get to witness it. I don't have to be emotionally tied up with all that crap that happened in my life as a
Mm-hmm.
as a 2-year-old. That does feel really good.
Do you have advice for people who feel stuck right now in whether repeating the same cycle or um, that self depreciation phase and how to get out of it?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things that people can do. If you have enough self-awareness, if you're listening to this, enough self-awareness to go out and either read about other people that have gone through this, or get some sort of wisdom through whatever your education is, that's great. If you feel like you don't know how to deal with this, I would say it's always great to talk to somebody about it, whether it's someone like you that's amazing as a coach in this world, or a professional counselor or an online app that's AI that walks you through some of the. Don't try to work on this in a vacuum. We all need
Mm-hmm.
help. If you are in a if you want to learn to play baseball like a professional, you don't go to a batting cage and just start batting balls. You get a coach that will help walk you through. Here's how you have to stand, and here's where you have to aim, and here's how you have to think
Mm-hmm.
about the ball, and here's how it works. If you're going through a divorce, why the heck wouldn't you talk to somebody or get the counseling that you need, even on your own? Even if your partner is not interested in doing the work, you do the work.
Yes.
If you start by doing the work, one of two things is going to happen. Your partner will come along with you eventually when they see you changing, or they won't. And if they don't, maybe that's not the partner for you, and that's okay. To stay together and be miserable makes no sense. Either figure out how to be happy or move on and be happy. Those are really your only two choices.
Yes. You pave your own way and you choose how to live your life. But you can't complain later and blame somebody that I'm miserable because of that.
Yeah,
No,
the blame
you
game isn't going to do anybody any good, and you
no.
blaming your spouse, unless you're in an abusive scenario. And I'm not saying anybody deserves any type of abuse, but maybe you're in that abusive relationship because of some wounds that you had as a child that say you're not good enough, and this is the only person
Mm-hmm.
you're worthy of. If you're in an abusive relationship, get professional help, get legal help, get out of that relationship
Yes,
if you're in
get
that
out.
abusive relationship. But before you get into another relationship, I think it's important for you to do work on yourself so you understand what it is that pulled you into that abusive relationship to begin with.
Hmm. And that's like I said, it's like with any abusive relationship, yes, there are deeper wounds there for victims who are going through that. But all relationships, which is what pulled us in there. Like
Yeah.
you said, you mimicked your family. I
Yes.
mimicked my family when I married, and I'm like, oh, I that's not where I want to be anymore. So
Hmm.
it's
Hmm.
time to move on. And like you said, when listeners do not have to do it alone. When it's about divorce, talk to somebody like me. When it's about business consulting, how to get your business to the next level, you talk to Doug, right?
Okay, I'll take that. But I would say let's start. Since this is a show not about business, this is a show about the relationships. I would say absolutely talk to somebody, get professional help, hire a coach. It is not an overnight transition to a
No,
happy
it's not.
life. You need to get somebody that can take a healthy perspective on what you're doing, that's seen it before and can help guide you to the right channel. Even if they're only one step ahead of you, it's one step further than you've gotten. Take the advice of somebody that's either been through it or is
Hmm.
a professional that can put this together, some solutions for you, and you'll figure out what works best for you once you start being offered solutions. It feels really good when you come up with a solid solution to a horrible situation, life situation
Hmm.
like divorce that you're going through. But when you get there,
Hmm.
man, it feels really good.
It does. And like I said, to all the listeners, divorces are messy. They are ugly for a moment. Sometimes the moment is longer than needs to be. But you know what? It's much nicer on the other side once you make it.
Agreed.
Um, Doug, thank you so much for sharing your story, being so open about it, and providing some advice for people who are in similar situations right now.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm going
So
to give you my ex-wife's phone number. See if you can get her on the show.
I'd love that.
I
Ooh,
can
I'd
listen
love
to
that.
can listen
I would
I
do
can listen
one
to what
after another.
happened. Well, thanks for
Well,
having me on
thank
the
you.
show, Sani. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise and your wisdom. Love your show. Listen to a number of your episodes, and whether it's somebody that's going through it or somebody that has coached people through it, really nice to be able to hear all of the true life examples that are going on your podcast. Thanks for sharing.
Well, thank you again for being here, and thank you all for listening to Uncoupled and Unfiltered. And until next time.
That's it for this episode of Uncoupled and Unfiltered. If you're loving the raw truth and practical takeaways, do the badass thing and rate and review the show wherever you listen. It helps more good people find their way out of the chaos. And check the show notes. Yeah, we actually put some useful stuff in there. Resources, links, tools, go grab what you need. Until next time, don't settle, don't shrink, and don't look back.